Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk to you about multiplying decimals. Now there's two methods that we can use when we're multiplying decimals. One method is the estimation method, and the second method is called the counting decimal places method. This is probably the more common of the two, but both of them are very easy to use, and you know, find the one that works best for you and go that way. First one I'm going to talk about is the estimation method. When we talk about estimation, what we're talking about is working with numbers that are close to the decimal numbers that we have. So for example, if I have a number, let's say I have 6 3/10 times 2 1/10. So there's my factors that I'm going to multiply. Well, what we're going to do with the estimation method is we're going to round 6 3/10 to the nearest whole number, and we're going to round 2 1/10 to the nearest whole number. Then we're going to multiply, and we're going to get an estimate of what our answer should be close to. So this is about the same as 6 times 2. 6 3/10. To round it, I'm going to look here. If it's 4 or 5 or let me start over. I'm going to start here. If it's 5 or above, I'm going to give this a shove up to the next number, but since it's below 5, I'm going to leave it alone, so it stays 6. Same thing here. So 6 times 2. So when I do my multiplication, my answer for 6 3/10 times 2 1/10 should be something relatively close to 12. Now from here on out, it's easy. I'm going to multiply this just like I would any whole numbers without a decimal in them. Okay, so I'm going to start with my ones place, or the farthest place to the right. In this case, my tenths place. 3 times 1 is 3. 6 times 1 is 6. I'm going to bring down a 0 to hold that place since I'm done with that place value. And I'm going to multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. And 6 times 2 is 12. Put that down. I'm going to add everything up. 6 plus 6 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 and 1. Now, what I'm going to do here is, since I estimated my answer was 12, I'm just going to look at the digits that I have in my answer, and I'm going to place the decimal point somewhere in that number that's going to get me as close to the closest I can to 12. In this case, I'm going to put it right here between the 3 and the 2, because 13 23/100 is as close to 12 as I can get. You know, if I put it here, it's too small, and if I put it here, it's way too big. So I'm going to put it to get it as close as I can. That's the estimation method. Now, the more traditional method is counting decimal places. So I'm going to change my numbers here, and let's say that I have 7 8/10. I'm going to change that. 7 85/100 times 3 2/10. Now, one thing that's important to notice when we're multiplying decimals, we don't have to line up our decimal points. We actually want to line up our digits instead, and we're just going to multiply this like we would any whole numbers. Okay, so we'll go through the same process we did over there. 5 times 2 is 10. Put down the 0, carry the 1. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17. Put down my 7, carry my 1. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. So I'm done with the tenths place here, so I'll put a 0 down to hold that place value, and I'll move over. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 24, 25. Carry the 2. 21, 23. Now, we're going to add these up. Still doing our good old multiplication. So I have a 0. 7 and 5 is 12. Carry the 1. 11. Carry the 1. 5. So there's my digits in my answer. Now, when we say counting decimal places, what we're going to do is in the factor, I'm going to ask myself how many numbers were after the decimal point. How many decimal places are there in this number? Well, there's 2. There's 2 decimal places. And in my second factor, there's 1 decimal place. So total, I have 3 decimal places. That's important to know because in my answer, in my product, I have to have the same number of decimal places that there are in my factors. In other words, I have 2 here, I have 1 here. That gives me 3 decimal places. So I have to have 3 decimal places down here. So I'm going to count from the end of the number back 1, 2, 3, and that's where my decimal point goes. So that would be 25 and 120 thousandths. Or, because it is a decimal number and this is just a trailing 0, there's nothing after that, that's the same as 25 and 12 hundredths. So you have 2 different methods to choose from: estimation and counting decimal places. You practice both of them, choose the one that works best for you, and that is how you multiply decimals.